This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya.
And I'm Talia.
And we are Crimes and Consequences, a true crime podcast.
They shot you with a revolver in your eye.
Yes. And that's
Is it a BB gun?
No, it was a real gun, man. It was just a
If
revolver.
they shot you in the eye with a revolver, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
How do you know?
It was most likely you'd be dead.
Hi Talia.
Hey, Tanya.
How you doing?
I'm splendid. I'm so good. I'm absolutely phenomenal. How are you?
That is a great answer.
Thank you.
You always give me good answers.
Yeah, and it's all full of shit, but that's okay. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Nobody wants to hear, everything fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's Monday and it sucks. No one wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear it, so just fake it. Anyway, I hope everybody else is doing great.
I have a really interesting case today for all of our listeners, and I have some clips that I'm going to include of the police interrogation.
I love that stuff.
Before I tell you the story, though, I would like to remind everyone to hit the subscribe or follow button on whatever app you're listening to, and I'm going to get right to the story.
Do it.
On the night of December 25th, 2006, in Maricopa County, Arizona, Ryan Waller and his live-in girlfriend, Heather Quan, were at the home they rented, watching some TV before heading out to visit family for the holiday. Ryan was 18 years old and dreamed of being in a rock band. He was a talented guitar player and thought he was good enough maybe to be able to become a world-famous rock star someday.
Oh, wow.
He loved playing the guitar. He could listen to a piece of music and play it within minutes. Heather was 21 and she was a student at a nearby university. She had dreams of heading to law school after graduating college.
Don't do it, girl.
I know.
Don't do it.
Really interested in someday working as a prosecutor, putting the bad guys away.
Yeah, it sounds so fantastic, doesn't it?
I know, when you're 21.
It's nothing like that in real life.
Despite their age difference, Ryan and Heather had known each other practically their whole lives, friends since childhood. As they were watching television, Ryan heard something going on over at their sliding glass door. After a flash of commotion, Ryan jumped up from the sofa and was confronted by two men who had broken inside of the house by shifting the glass door, because it didn't have like a rod in it or anything. As soon as he confronted the two men, one pulled out a gun and shot him in the face. As soon as he was shot, Ryan fell to the floor, and when he tried to get up, the assailant again shot him in the head. Heather was still on the couch, and before she had a second to react to the terror that was unfolding right in front of her, one of the men who had barged inside the apartment shot her in the head, killing her.
So this all happened really fast.
Really fast. The men then stole items from Ryan and Heather's apartment. The exact items taken are not fully known, except for Ryan's guitar collection and a computer. Even with the witnesses taken care of, the men moved quickly, and they left almost as quickly as they arrived.
So is this an apartment that they're living in or a
It's
house?
a home.
It's an
Yes.
actual home.
It's a home that they've rented.
Okay, so those shots might not be necessarily heard.
Right. That Christmas Day, Ryan was due to have dinner with his family, and dinner was going to be around 6 p.m. Ryan didn't appear for dinner, and his parents grew worried. His father, Don, called Ryan before they had dinner, thinking maybe Ryan was running late or maybe something, happened that caused him to be late.
I mean, he's 18.
Right. Who knows? He didn't talk to Ryan, and his cell just went to voicemail. Don called Ryan's phone again as dinner was winding down and got his voicemail again.
And this is Christmas?
This is Christmas.
Yeah, so you would think your kid's going to be there for Christmas.
Right, especially for Christmas. Getting no answer except for Ryan's voicemail, his parents knew something was terribly wrong and decided to go over to Ryan's house to see if they could find out more.
I mean, if kid's not coming home on Christmas.
I know, there's something got to be
Yeah,
wrong.
because they want to get that new gift.
I know.
New iPhone or whatever
Exactly.
you got coming to them.
Ryan's parents got to his house around 7:50 p.m. They knocked on his door, and there was no answer. They weren't sure if Ryan was actually home because he sometimes parked his vehicle in the garage, so they didn't see his car, but Again, like I said, they weren't sure if he had gone out somewhere. Not knowing what else to do, Ryan's father called the Phoenix police and requested that they make a welfare check at Ryan's place.
So would that mean the police were going to meet him there?
Yes. Ryan's parents waited for the police to arrive, and they were just beside themselves. Like you mentioned, it wasn't like Ryan to miss Christmas dinner, and especially not to call if he was detained or caught up somewhere. Since this wasn't an emergency call to the Phoenix police, they didn't arrive right away, and Ryan's parents left his house to grab a coffee to drink while they waited for the police. An officer finally called Ryan's parents back about 11:30 p.m., so this is about 4 hours.
4 hours?
4.5 hours after they first initially called to tell them they were headed to Ryan's place to do the welfare check. They arrived at the house around midnight, and he initially made the call about 7:50.
And what time was Ryan supposed to be over there?
About 6.
Okay.
The officer who got to the scene tried knocking on the door, and there was no answer, so he tried looking through the blinds in the living room. The blinds were closed, but there was a fan on in the living room that would cause the blinds to shift a little bit from the breeze produced by the fan. And the officer explained that when he looked inside, he thought he saw a body. So after seeing the body, the officer didn't enter the home, even though I believe that could be considered exigent circumstances. I mean, don't you? I mean, what if the person was just unconscious and needed aid, right?
Absolutely, of course. The police have gone into a house without a search warrant on much less exigent circumstances.
That officer instead waited for about an hour with Ryan's parents for a search warrant.
Oh my gosh, his parents.
I know.
I would just have a
and they were
panic
like,
attack.
We don't know if that's Ryan.
I would have just broke the window.
I mean,
if I was a parent, I would have just broken that window. Of course, there's
seriously.
a police officer right there. But still, I would have.
I know. So like I said, they waited for the longest hour probably of their lives, this hour for the search warrant to be prepared. Finally, when it came through and they entered Ryan's home, the police found Heather dead on the sofa. They also found Ryan, who despite being shot in the head twice, was miraculously still alive.
Wow.
They noticed he had a large black eye on his left eye, which was also really swollen. He looked to the police that he had been in a fist fight with someone, and with Heather dead on the couch, it looked to them that maybe Ryan and Heather had gotten into a physical fight that resulted in Heather being shot to death.
Like it's some sort of domestic violence dispute.
Exactly, thinking they had discovered this domestic dispute that ended with a boyfriend killing his girlfriend, the police put Ryan in the back of their squad car. They investigated the crime scene and called medical personnel to check out Heather. At no point during any of this did anyone give any medical attention to Ryan, despite his obvious black eye. After sitting in the squad car for at least 4 hours, the lead detective, Detective Paul Dalton, showed up to the scene, and he tells the officers to take Ryan to the police station for questioning about what in the hell happened.
Wait, so Ryan's in the cop car for 4 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes.
Why, they're what, processing the scene?
Yes.
Oh.
And waiting for the detective to show up.
Wow.
Yeah. Before questioning him, the police took 43 photos of his injuries at the police station. And they didn't pay much attention to the nonsensical things that Ryan was saying to them. It's obvious from the photos that they took of his injuries that there was a fresh wound on Ryan's nose that would later be determined to be an entry wound for the bullet that would damage his eye. When Ryan first arrived to the interrogation room, he was left alone, and I think it was probably about 15 minutes. They were taping it. Like once from when it started taping to when the detective finally came in, it was about 15 minutes.
So he's just sitting alone in that room waiting to be questioned.
Yes, and he's fidgety. He puts his head down on his hands. He's just kind of like moaning a little bit. When Detective Dalton arrives, he questions Ryan for nearly an hour. He asks Ryan questions pertaining to what may have happened the night previous and how he got a black eye.
So was Ryan arrested?
I believe so, because he was in handcuffs.
Well, yeah, then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm sure his parents would have taken him to get medical treatment.
Right. So I'm going to play you some snippets from Ryan's interrogation. This first one is, I'm going to let you hear him tell the detective about what happened.
Do you have a girlfriend? No? You know a girl named Heather?
Mm-hmm.
You know Heather's last name?
Mm-hmm.
What is Heather's last name?
The one that lives there right now?
I guess, I don't know. If her name's Heather, what's her last name?
I don't know which name she's trying to use as her last one. She's trying to have a real last as her nickname, so I don't know.
What nickname does she go by?
She probably wants the last name, Kyman.
Kyman? How would you spell that? With a K or a C?
K?
Keep going.
I don't know.
How old is Heather?
16 or 17.
Is she a white girl?
Yeah.
How did you meet Heather?
I've known her since school.
Okay.
I don't know.
You just known her from school?
She used to be a business name. I don't know.
She used to do a business name.
She used to be in my book named with business name.
Oh, okay. She used to be in a class, your business class?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, Talia, what'd you think of that?
I'm confused.
You might have noticed he told the detective Heather's last name was something that it wasn't. Her last name is Quan. And he mentioned that she was 16 or 17, but she's 21. I mean, Ryan knows this. He's known her pretty much all his life. And then he says something about, like, she's in my class or my business name.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. He's
Right.
obviously really confused.
He's very confused.
So what do the police think about this?
Well, they just keep questioning him. And they question him for close, like I said, close to an hour.
Well, they know that his answers aren't making any sense. He's sitting there in front of them with a massive black eye
Mm-hmm.
and like a mark in his nose.
Oh, yeah, they're going to keep questioning him. I'm going to show you. This is how Ryan finds out that Heather is dead.
I don't know. I just want to go to sleep, man. That's it.
Hey, Ryan,
Huh? Huh?
there's a dead girl in your living room.
She's dead?
Yes.
Heather?
I don't know. I want to know what happened in your house last night.
The girl on the couch is dead?
I don't know if she's on the couch. She's dead.
So that's how we found out his girlfriend was dead?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you can tell he's even confused about that.
So this has got to be, if he's saying the night before, so this has got to be like in the middle of the night or the next morning.
This is the next morning he was questioned. Yeah, because he sat in the squad car.
So time is going by, and he hasn't gotten any medical treatment, right?
Nope, no one's even looked at him.
Wow.
Detective Dalton further questions Ryan, and pay close attention to this one.
What happened last night?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I really don't. I just want to go to sleep and go to sleep. Oh.
Well, you remembered Heather hitting you in the eye, right?
But I don't remember after that because I just went to lay down and try to go to sleep.
All right.
I don't know what anybody was doing. I really don't.
Who was in the house when you went to sleep?
Christina and Heather.
Christina and Heather.
Mm,
Okay. And Christina was on the couch?
Heather was.
Heather was on the couch. You told me Christina was on the couch just a minute ago.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I really don't.
You just don't know?
I really don't, man.
Or you don't want to tell me?
I really don't know, man. I really don't. I just want to go and go to sleep, man.
All right, you're not going to go anywhere.
Ryan doesn't know, obviously, a lot of the answers to this question. To me, this sounds like he's just confused
And tired?
and tired. And isn't being tired a sign of a concussion?
I don't know. I'm not a medical
I don't
professional,
know.
but from what you told me, he has 2 bullets in his head.
Yes, he's got 2 bullets in his head.
Wow. Wow.
I'm playing you all of these clips because I want you to experience what Ryan did, because it's going to be important to the story. Finally, Detective Dalton questions him again. He keeps telling him, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. First you tell me Heather hit you, and now you told me it was an accident, and then it's somebody else. And he brings up this Christina person. I don't even know who that is. She's not even part of this story.
Because they have a roommate, but that her name wasn't Christina, right?
No, they have a roommate, and her name was Alicia. So Detective Dalton keeps asking him, tell me what really happened. Tell me what really happened. And his next answer is going to be something where he does tell Detective Dalton what really happened. And it's something about this guy, Richie, and his dad. So let me play that for you.
Richie's dad?
Richie and his dad.
Well, these people came over, Richie and his dad, with shoot and arrow, bow and darts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They hit me and her with those. That's it. And Heather wasn't there. And Eric wasn't there. It was just me and Heather was there.
You and Heather were there. And then what happened?
And that's it. Richie and his dad tried to break in through the back.
Richie and Dad? His dad?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Richie?
I don't know.
Well, you obviously know him. You know his name by
He
Richie.
used to live there.
Was he a roommate of yours?
He used to be.
And they hit you and they hit you?
Yeah.
Now it's Richie that hit you, not Heather?
No, Richie and his dad.
Richie and his dad. They hit you.
Yes.
Why?
Because they're trying to get their stuff. I don't know why.
And they had some kind of bow and arrows?
Mm-hmm. They each had 2 revolvers and they didn't let off any shells.
Okay, you just said they had bow and arrows. Now they have revolvers?
That's what I meant. They had revolvers.
They have revolvers.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then they shot us with those.
They shot both of you?
Yeah.
Where'd they shoot you at?
I got shot in the eye.
You got shot in the eye
I think so.
with a revolver.
I think. I don't know, man. I don't know. Fuck.
Okay, Talia.
Jeez. Wow. Broke into his house with a bow and arrow and blow darts. And then it switches to a revolver and Heather's there, not there.
Right.
He's so confused.
Right. And I did do a little research, and apparently there is a condition when people have a traumatic brain injury that they're saying something and they're thinking one thing and saying another. So like when he's like, yeah, revolver. Yeah, that's what I meant. So he said bow and arrow,
But in his mind, he was thinking revolver.
Yes.
It just came out
it
wrong.
just came out wrong, and he doesn't realize it comes out wrong.
I like how Officer Dalton's like, where'd you get shot?
Yeah.
I mean, hello.
He's like, in the eye.
I got a massive black eye right
And he's
here.
like, you got shot in the eye.
Wow.
All dubious about it. As I said, he mentions Richie and his dad, and just to give you a little background, Larry Carver is the father of a son named Richie Carver. In the interrogation and in many media reports, it is said that Richie is Ryan's roommate. However, this isn't true. Ryan and Richie were never roommates. They knew one another because Richie had lived in the home that Ryan was currently renting at the time of our story. He lived in it before Ryan did.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
And Richie lived there with a guy named Eric. Eric and Richie got into some altercation where Eric pulled a gun on Richie and Richie ended up moving out. Because it's sometimes reported that Ryan pulled a gun on Richie, but that didn't happen.
Okay, so we have Eric and Richie. They used to live in the house
Yes.
that Ryan and Heather now live in.
Yes, and so when Richie moved out, Ryan moved in. And when Eric moved out, that's when Heather and Alicia moved in.
So
Okay.
Ryan and Eric would know each other.
Yes, Ryan and Eric would know each other. And Richie would come around to the house after Ryan moved in and asked like if they had any of his mail and, maybe things that didn't get forwarded to the post office. So Ryan did know who Richie was. Eric and Ryan also caught Richie poking around the backyard of the house about a month before our story. And when they confronted him as to why he was there, he told them he was looking for his pet iguana.
What?
Apparently he had an iguana that got loose, and since they're nocturnal, Richie was looking for him in the backyard at night.
Oh, wow.
But
That's crazy.
I know. But what I believe Richie was doing by nosing around was he was casing the place.
Right.
Like I said, Ryan had several guitars, he had a computer, And he looked like an easy target.
That's a good ruse, though. I'm just
Mhm.
looking for my pet iguana.
I know.
Okay.
And Richie wasn't some honest kid. He had a criminal record a mile long. He was a violent troublemaker starting in middle school. He had offenses against him, like being a runaway, and he had assaults. He was charged with aggravated assault against his dad, Larry, and for armed robbery in 2000, where he stabbed a guy at a stoplight and robbed him. Richie served 4 years in prison for that crime, and he got out of prison in 2005. In prison, he got in trouble for promoting prison contraband, and that was because he was in possession of a shank.
Oh, a shank. I was thinking like cigarettes or something.
Yeah, really. I was thinking, yeah, he had like a cup of ramen or something.
Family-sized Dorito bag, not a shank.
He had a shank. Before he was released from prison in 2005, a prison psychologist reported on Richie's record that Richie would act out in the future and basically had no conscience like you or me. He lacked caring about his fellow human beings and only cared about himself and his needs. In 2005 and 2006, before this crime, he had already gotten charged with some domestic violence charges. It's believed that Richie noticed Ryan owned some cool shit and decided he was going to break into Ryan's house on Christmas Day because it was unlikely that someone would be there.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, however, when Richie and his dad Larry showed up, they encountered Ryan and Heather. Richie figured robbing Ryan would be a perfect crime because since he lived there previously, if his DNA showed up in the police investigation, his excuse for his DNA being there was that he used to live there.
That makes sense, too.
It does, right? Plus, Richie didn't plan on leaving any witnesses behind, and so that would take care of that.
Okay, so you're going to break into a house. You have to assume that there's a chance somebody might be there.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they did, and they brought a gun.
Yes.
Did they really believe that whatever they were going to get from an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old was going to be worth killing somebody over?
Right? It's not really thought out, is it?
No, it's stupid.
Richie's dad, Larry, wasn't a great guy either, in case you were wondering.
I wasn't even wondering. I knew.
Yeah, you knew.
I knew.
He also had a criminal record that included assault and assaulting a police officer prior to this crime.
Fuck.
Yes. Fuck is right.
You don't give a fuck.
No. Anyway, getting back to Ryan's interrogation. Detective Dalton failed to see anything in Ryan's behavior that he thought was strange. As a matter of fact, Detective Dalton tells Ryan he thinks he's lying and wants him to tell the truth. I'm going to let you hear that one.
Ryan, why don't you tell me what really happened there? Because
I really don't know, man. I really don't. I don't know. I could tell you anything, I swear.
I want you to tell me the truth. That's all I want from
Richie
you.
and his dad came there. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but they put me in sleeping hold. And, they put me in sleeping hold with the arrows and shit. I lived through that crap.
Okay, they put you in a sleeping hold?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know, man.
You're telling me they put you in a sleeping hold. What is a sleeping hold?
I don't know.
Well, explain it.
really don't know.
It's coming out of your mouth. Explain that to me. What's a sleeping hold?
I really don't know, man. I really don't. I really don't know.
Okay. You're telling me you're all over the board here, number one. You're saying bows and arrows, you're saying revolvers, and you're saying some other thing, and you're saying they shot you in the eye. Okay? They shot you with a revolver in your eye.
Yes. And that's
Is it a BB gun?
No, it was a real gun, man. It was just a
If
revolver.
they shot you in the eye with a revolver, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
How do you know?
It was most likely you'd be dead.
That's what I thought too, man. I really don't know.
Okay, Talia, what do you think about that?
Wow.
There's a lot to unpack there.
You know, I noticed that his speech is just slightly slowed down. Just a hint of almost like someone who just woke up. You know, it's very slow speech. I wonder, did the police think he was on drugs?
Maybe.
That's what I would have probably thought.
And I think...
Like, sounds stoned.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. And Detective Dalton is very dubious of his story, as you can hear in the tone of his voice. He's like, and you got shot.
If you got shot in the eye, you'd be dead.
It's like, yeah, I know. Ryan's like,
It's
no
so bizarre.
shit, dude.
So bizarre.
Yeah, very bizarre. And as you can see, Detective Dalton does not believe Ryan. I'm going to play you another clip.
Ryan, you need to start telling me the truth because your story doesn't make sense.
I'm trying, man. I don't know. Just ask me anything and I'll tell you the truth. Just ask me.
Well, I'm trying to, and you're not even coming close to the truth.
Go ahead, ask me.
What happened with you and Heather last night?
Her dad came and shot the house.
And shot her.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad. Now, Richie is her dad?
Mm-hmm.
Or Richie's her brother?
Yeah, her dad.
Her dad shot her.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you do?
I tried to go back to sleep.
After you've been shot
Mm-hmm.
in the eye,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't know enough to call 911.
Mm-mm.
Why didn't you call 911?
Because I was just trying to go to sleep. That's it.
You just saw Richie's and his dad shoot your girlfriend, and you just felt like you needed to go to sleep?
Something like that. I don't know, man. I really don't.
Ryan, look at me. Ryan,
Yes. I don't know, man. I really don't
why
know.
did you shoot Heather, Ryan?
I didn't shoot Heather. She was already shot once by her brother, I swear.
Richie.
Yes.
Richie shot his own sister.
Yes, I swear. That's it.
Sit down.
Not me.
And you've been shot in the eye.
Yes.
Okay, Leah.
So why are they so adamant that it has to be some sort of domestic violence dispute, especially considering the tremendous injury he clearly has in his eye? Like, Heather could have punched with all her might, and there's just no way that she could have created that injury in his eye. So why are they so adamant about it being that?
I know they had extreme tunnel vision when it came
For
to
real.
this. Terribly. They were trying to get him to confess. Why did you shoot her? He's like, I didn't shoot her.
And then also in any of these situations, and I'm sure you're going to explain it, but you have to get even the suspect medical treatment first.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm not sure how this, even if he did it, I'm not sure how this would be able to be admitted into evidence given the brain injury he has.
Right. And the fact that he's saying, he's so confused. He's saying that Richie's Heather's brother, Larry's her dad. And that's not true. And Ryan, like I said, it's his girlfriend. He knows who her parents are. But he knows who Richie and Larry are too. Finally, after at least 6 hours from when they first picked him up and found Heather's body, Detective Dalton realizes that something is very wrong with Ryan. Finally. He calls the medic from the fire department and he takes the handcuffs off of Ryan and he's checked out by the medics. And I'm going to play you that because it gets recorded.
Hey, Ryan?
Yes.
I got the fire department coming to take a look at it. They're going to probably take you to the hospital.
You taking me to the hospital?
Yeah, we're going to take you to the hospital.
Why?
Well, if you've seen your face and the way you're doing things, it doesn't make sense right now, okay? We're just going to make sure you're okay.
I just want to go back to bed, man.
Well, that's the problem. If you have some kind of head injury, you shouldn't be sleeping, okay? Well, sit down. There you go.
Thankfully, too, the examination performed by the medics is recorded because Detective Dalton would later lie about the whole thing during a deposition. And I'm going to play you what's important in what got recorded.
I'm just thankful that they finally got him some medical treatment.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Well, buddy, your ride's here. It's checked out. Yeah, he's good.
Where?
What's up?
Where are we going?
You gotta go to the hospital. Get checked out, bro. Look like you got shot right in the face.
I don't even know.
So the EMT noticed right away that it looked like he got shot in the face.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Detective Dalton eventually would be deposed over this incident.
Because Ryan's family sued?
Yeah, Ryan's family will sue, and I'll tell you a little bit about it later. But during his deposition, he's asked whether the firefighter said anything to him regarding Ryan and his injuries. Detective Dalton's answer was, they didn't think he was shot. I'm watching them. They said, there's something really wrong with him. I said, well, you guys have to take him out of here. And you heard the recording, Talia. Does that sound like an accurate recollection?
I can neither confirm nor deny. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, he clearly says in there that, no, the EMT guy clearly says in there it looks like he'd been shot.
Absolutely.
In the eye.
Yeah, like, we're taking he goes, we're taking you to the hospital, bro. Looks like you got shot in the face or whatever he said, in the head. Detective Dalton is further asked by the attorney in the deposition whether there's a specific procedure that is supposed to be followed when they encounter injured suspects. So his answer is, yeah, there was. First, he's supposed to determine the state of mind of the suspect and whether the suspect is answering in the manner in which the detective would expect him to. He said he did this, and Ryan was answering questions as he would expect. Makes you wonder.
Okay.
I didn't expect any of that.
I guess he didn't expect much from Ryan with his answering of the questions.
No, and to point out, Ryan's not being evasive because he's asking him questions that are just innocent questions, like nothing that could be incriminating, like,
how old is she?
How old is she? Yeah, exactly. Is she a white girl? He's confused, and he's answering these questions with answers that aren't correct.
I'm a little confused. So you're saying that they don't have to look at the physical condition of a suspect before determining whether they should take him in to be treated? They have to ask them questions and see their mental state? Because if my arm is missing, I could still answer questions, probably.
That's true. Well, that's Detective Dalton's answer. I can't confirm what the actual police policy is.
But you get my point, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The attorneys also asked him, how do you make a determination whether an injury is an emergency? Like a physical injury.
Yeah.
And he said, quote, obviously for me, that would be unconsciousness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's quite a standard if they're not conscious.
Belated answers to my questions. Reasonably looking at the injury. Obviously, he wasn't bleeding. It was scabbed. It was just my opinion at first. It was just a black eye. And this goes against the photos that I told you were taken. They were taken at the police station immediately prior to Detective Dalton interviewing Ryan. And those photos show fresh wounds. There's no scabbing involved. And to top it all off, at one point during the interrogation, Detective Dalton says to Ryan he notices his black eye and that he should get a doctor to examine it. It's crazy. After being checked out by the medics, Ryan was rushed to the hospital, and it was immediately determined he was shot in the head twice. At about 7 a.m. that morning, the hospital called Ryan's dad to give him an update. So like you said, this is like the middle of the night, kind of, the police get there about midnight. He's in the car for about 4 hours. So it's 4 a.m. maybe, 4:30, taken to the police station to be questioned. And he's finally at the hospital by 7 a.m. The hospital told Don, Ryan's dad, that they couldn't operate on Ryan as they originally thought they should because they found an infection had set in from the bullet wounds and the swelling in Ryan's face needed to subside. They wouldn't be able to operate until the infection was under control. So Ryan's operation occurred on December 28th, 3 days after he was shot. The injuries he sustained were a skull fracture, blowout in his left eye socket, which was broken into 6 pieces.
Whoa.
And they had made their way to his brain.
Wow.
Ryan was shot also in the side of his head, but that shot didn't penetrate his brain. Interestingly, he also had a broken jaw that the doctor said wasn't caused by gunshots. Ryan's dad, Don, believes the police caused the broken jaw. In an interview he did on the podcast This Is Monsters, which is one of my sources for today's episode, Don said he saw in a police report the following account of what happened when the police first arrived at Ryan's house for the welfare check. When they got to the house, they get in and they're telling him to get down, and he's asking, what's going on? And the officer says in his report that Ryan isn't responding to their commands, so they quote unquote led him to the ground.
Oh.
Apparently, too, officers are taught that there's a pressure point on the left side of your jaw that they sometimes use to subdue suspects. Don believes the Phoenix police used this technique or basically slammed Ryan to the ground until they could get his hands behind his back to cuff him. Ryan eventually lost his left eye due to the damage caused by the bullet wound he suffered. It has been reported in some other articles that Ryan lost both of his eyes, but that's not true. His right eye was removed during the surgery, but doctors were able to save it.
Wait, his right eye was removed?
Removed.
But they were able to save it?
Yes.
Oh.
and he was able to see out of his right eye.
Modern technology is amazing.
Isn't it, though? I know.
They can cut the optic nerve. And...
Dude, I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Okay, all right, I trust you.
He suffered a traumatic brain injury in the attack, which was probably made worse due to the delay in medical treatment. I'm just going to say it.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's my opinion.
The swelling.
Detective Dalton would go on to claim that he followed up with Ryan's doctor later at the hospital, and the doctor told him that Ryan's injuries only looked like an assault, and Ryan was being rude to the nurses and staff. This was never substantiated by anyone at the hospital, and Don believes this is another one of Detective Dalton's lies. Ryan spent 35 days in the hospital.
35 days?
I know, this poor kid. And during the entire time he was in the hospital, not one member of the Phoenix Police Department came to visit him or question him further on what happened. During that time, they also never made any attempt to locate Richie or Larry to question them about what Ryan said during the interrogation.
So what are they doing for the case?
Nothing.
For Heather? For justice for Heather?
Nothing, apparently. After Ryan returned home, another detective from the Phoenix police came to talk to Ryan. And Ryan was informed that Detective Dalton was busy on another case and not working Heather's death any longer.
Yeah, I'd just take him off that case.
Yeah. The Phoenix police did eventually follow up on what Ryan had told them about Richie and his dad being at the apartment that night, and Richie and his dad were arrested in connection with the crimes. They were charged as accomplices with burglary in the first degree, theft, aggravated assault, and first-degree murder in connection with Heather's death. Before I tell you what happened next, though, I am going to take a break. I need to tell you about a little controversy about the correct day of the shooting. I told you the shooting happened on December 25th. However, the police try to claim the shooting happened on December 23rd. And if you look this case up, a lot of articles are going to tell you it happened on December 23rd. I believe this false narrative was created in order to make the fact that the medical attention Ryan received was delayed for several hours, and because his wounds were so serious. Heather's autopsy initially said that she died on December 25th between 5 and 8 p.m. Then it was changed to December 23rd because that was the last time anyone talked to her. But her tombstone and obituary both say she passed on December 25th.
This is crazy. I mean, this is not, this is just standard medical stuff. Being able to determine the date of death with someone on, in that situation.
I know, absolutely.
It's not like she was found in the woods after being missing a year.
Right. And Ryan's family showed up. There has to be a record of it.
I mean, not to be gruesome, but she still had to be warm when they got there.
I mean, it wasn't that long after she was shot. And furthermore, there is a point in the interrogation where Detective Dalton says something to Ryan to the effect of, why would someone come on Christmas Day and do this?
Okay.
So, I mean, it's even in the interrogation.
That's weird.
But like I said, there's lots of shit out there that says December 23rd. After Richie was arrested, his mom, Cheryl, and Larry's wife contacted the Phoenix Police Department, and 2 police detectives interviewed her. And this was probably about 45 days or so after Heather was killed, because Ryan was in the hospital.
Ryan was out after 35.
Yeah, Ryan was out after 35, and they don't get arrested for a while. Cheryl's friend Brenda was present with her during the interview. Cheryl told the detectives that Richie and Larry left her house together sometime on December 23rd. So again, she's saying this date. And this is what's in the court record. The court record also says December 23rd, but like I said, I'm trying to clear this up. She said they left between 8 and 9 p.m. to go to Ryan's house and check on some property and also, quote, to talk about a pistol whipping incident, end quote. And I kind of referred earlier that maybe Eric had pulled a gun on Richie. So maybe that's what that's referring to. When they got back, Larry told Cheryl, quote, I've just fucked up. I killed 2 people and I got to get out of here, end quote. Cheryl said that Richie was standing right there when Larry made the statement. Cheryl also told police that Larry asked her to gather the .22 caliber ammunition from a desk drawer so that he could get it out of the house. Larry then left alone almost immediately for California. Cheryl informed the police that the gun they seized during the search of her house was not the murder weapon. So, when Richie has his trial, the prosecutors call Cheryl as a witness. However, when she testifies, she says she didn't remember making those statements during her interview, or that she had lied to the detectives because her relationship with Larry was very rocky and she wanted to see Larry go to prison and be rid of him.
Oh, shit.
I know.
She's just making the shit up?
Yes.
Oh, she really does hate him. You gotta really fucking be pissed to do that.
And the podcast that I listened to, This Is Monsters, said that they think she was pissed because Larry is allowing Richie to take the fall for this whole thing.
Oh.
That maybe that's why. The state sought to impeach Cheryl with her statements from the interview. Richie's defense objected. Obviously, they were saying her testimony is inadmissible. But the trial court did allow, because they objected because it was hearsay. But the court did allow it because it was prior inconsistent statements. And that's one of the hearsay objections, as you know, Talia.
This is one fucked up family.
I know.
I'm just pointing that out.
Exactly. Cheryl's friend Brenda also testified as to what was said. So Richie presented an alibi/mistaken identity defense at trial. His mother and sister testified that he was at home in bed at the time of the shooting. So everybody's fucking lying about everything.
And what is the time of the shooting that they're testifying
I know.
he's home in bed?
Exactly. Is it the 23rd? Is it the 25th? I have no idea. Richie himself testified that he never went to Ryan's house on the night of the shooting and that he neither owned or carried a gun at the time. Richie also mentioned that Heather had a prior boyfriend named Bose who was jealous of Ryan and that Ryan worried about him. And then that Bose posed a threat to Ryan and he might have been the shooter, but nobody knows who this Bose person is. The jury did acquit Richie of the theft charge, but they found him guilty on all the remaining counts. The trial court sentenced him to life without the possibility of parole for murder and to presumptive prison terms for burglary, aggravated assault, and misconduct involving weapons. Richie's dad, Larry, initially got away with murder, mostly because the only evidence that would be used in his trial was his wife's testimony regarding his confession. The prosecutors knew she would invoke the marital privilege and refuse to testify, thus leaving them with no case.
Is this Cheryl?
Yes.
So they're back on?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're
so
back
she
together.
doesn't want him to go to prison now? Okay.
Exactly. She doesn't want to be rid of him now. Heather's family fought hard to get legislation passed, and eventually a law commonly known as Heather's Law was passed, which revoked the marital privilege law. That in cases where you voluntarily provide the information to police, like they can't make you testify if you don't want to. I mean, if you haven't made statements in the past.
But because she did once voluntarily make statements, now she has to
testify and cannot invoke the marital privilege, at least in Arizona. Larry was re-indicted in November 2011 and eventually convicted of first-degree murder, just like his son, attempted first-degree murder, burglary, and aggravated assault. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Ryan and his father Don sued the Phoenix Police Department for their actions in delaying Ryan's medical treatment. In addition to losing his eye, Ryan suffered from severe seizures after the shooting. The seizures were so bad that Ryan would injure himself, like terribly. There was one time where he broke one of his ankles and he bit off part of his tongue.
Oh, man.
I know. Additionally, he had a really bad seizure in a grocery store where he smashed his head on the floor. His brain swelled and bled, and he required 40 stitches.
Oh, God, I'm so upset right now. I just want to share that with everybody. I'm very upset. He's an 18-year-old boy. And then let's not forget there's a 21-year-old dead girl. For what?
For what? She's just chilling at her place on Christmas Day.
What did Heather? I mean, it's Christmas. Her family forever has Christmas ruined.
I know.
No, Heather.
I know.
I'm so angry.
I know. It's terrible. Don compared the way that Ryan acted after the shooting as like someone who suffers either from Alzheimer's or dementia. Like he would just forget stories he told. He was just really forgetful. And the case that Ryan and Don filed was eventually dismissed against the police department. So it went nowhere.
Can't fight City Hall.
No. Sadly, as I mentioned, Ryan suffered these seizures from his ordeal, and 10 years after Heather's murder, he died as a result of one of his seizures.
He died?
He died.
Ryan died?
Yeah, and it was the seizure he had in the grocery store where he was severely injured. He was only 27.
Oh, man.
I know, I'm sorry. I know.
I didn't even see that coming.
I know, I'm so sorry. Currently, I know.
Fuck.
Yeah, I just ruined your day, didn't I?
Yeah,
it's a
you
complete
did.
pisser. I was hoping that Ryan would at least, no, I know. Currently, the Justice Department is investigating the Phoenix Police Department for civil rights violations and police misconduct, and they're looking for help from the public. They are especially interested in interactions people may have had with Detective Dalton, because he's retired now. They give out an email and a phone number, and I will give it to everyone. If you have any information in connection with this, a story, whatever that you think they want to hear, the email is phoenix.community@usdoj.gov, and the phone number is 866-432-0335.
Well, we learned in law school it's very hard to sue the police or a police officer, the police department, or any of that. Very difficult.
Very difficult.
They do have that immunity. Though the laws have softened a bit in the past decade or so.
Right. And because Ryan passed away, his family does have the option of trying Richie and his dad for now Ryan's murder because it was basically as a result of the shooting. But his dad, who did appear on This Is Monsters, he was interviewed by the host. He just said, why? Why? They're already sentenced to life without parole. What more would there be just to waste time, basically? I would like to thank This Is Monsters.
Thank you. Yes.
For the information I found on their podcast, because like I said, I would have told a different story based on a lot of the articles that I found. It was very helpful and informative. And there's also another story on there about Detective Dalton, about how some bullshit he did to some kid and basically ruined this guy's life.
Oh.
So you might want to check it out. Free plug for This Is Monsters.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, this is a promo?
Yeah.
I didn't know about. Is that what we're doing? Okay.
It was really good. I did use other sources. There were some videos on YouTube. There were articles, like I said, and I will list them all in the show notes. Before we go, I would like to remind everyone to hit the subscribe or follow button on whatever app you're listening to. And Talia, I think you have...
Yeah, speaking of promos.
Yeah, speaking of promos.
At the end of this episode, we're going to play a little promo for Excuse Me, That's Illegal.
I love that.
It's a podcast hosted by Larry Luna, and I haven't checked it out, but I have been going back and forth with Larry, and I really like him. So it's probably a really good podcast. It's the podcast that takes a hardcore look at some softcore crime.
Oh, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, it's not true crime, but it talks about crime. I know that.
Yeah. And before we go, too, we have shout-outs.
Shout-outs. It's shout-out time.
Shout-out time.
We need to get some shout-out music.
We'll get right on that. Somebody wanna compose us a little shout-out music promo?
Something happy.
So we have Laura S. We would like to give a special shout-out to. She gave us a donation.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had donation available on our website.
Still
and I'm the one that runs it. Thank you, Laura S.
We have Kathleen D., Afton H., Mandy V., Deneen E., Brian G., Kristen M., Bryson C., Amanda K., Marie, Tara G., Lindsay F., Carol A., Martha T., Leslie, Kim S., Michelle M., and Fallon J.
What about Ted Weed?
Oh, yeah. Ted Weed?
Ted Weed.
And Ted Weed.
I don't know who Ted Weed is, but I like Ted Weed.
So thank you, everyone. And in case you're wondering what that was all about, you can become a member by going to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TNTcrimes. And you'll have access to bonus episodes that we do not release to the public. And we probably have about 100 and...
1 billion. 100 billion. 1 billion. 100
it's
billion.
Worth it. We have 100 billion episodes for you to check out.
Somebody's going to sue our ass. I subscribed and there wasn't 100 billion episodes.
Just be like, I can't count. Sorry. If you listen on the Apple Podcast app, you can become a subscriber there, and they're the same episods that are on Patreon.
And you get ad-free early releases of our public episodes.
Absolutely. You can find out more information about this episode if you go to our website, crimesandconsequences.com, and we're also on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Hardcore True Crime.
We got a lot going on.
A lot.
We're everywhere.
Check everything out.
Taking over the world.
And until our next episode.
Don't kill each other.
Bye.